Alright. Third time's the charm. My audio cut out again. This is the third time I've ridden this bike in attempts to review it because my GoPro adapter killed itself. But I got a new GoPro adapter. I always carry one with me just in case shit like this happens, so we'll find out if it's good. But I'm gonna keep the other parts in here, so it's gonna kind of half work. It's just gonna be a weird cut. Let's get through this quick. I usually like to take time and effort and put all this like word usage into my videos when I do a review, but I've already done enough highway runs on this thing. I've already ridden this thing as fast as I want to ride it, and I've already reviewed it 2 times prior. So let's kick this to the curb. 1, is it faster than the Hayabusa? Yes, it is. It is noticeably faster than the Hayabusa. The other day I rode a not stock Hayabusa that was unlocked, had the unlock on it, and so its full power potential was there. With the full exhaust and it had a tune, this is completely stock. It is significantly faster. And there's gonna be a lot of people saying, Dan, of course it's faster. It's a ZX-14. That doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't it be faster? Those are the Kawasaki people. The Hayabusa riders are gonna say, Dan, you're an idiot. There's no way my Hayabusa is slower than a ZX-14, especially since the ZX-14 stock and my Hayabusa isn't. My Hayabusa is lowered and stretched, which adds like 50 horsepower. But stock for stock, the Hayabusa definitely is slower in comparison. Now, another thing I've noticed about this bike is how unbelievably comfortable it is. The Hayabusa, and I'm going to compare it to the Hayabusa a lot because it's kind of the same bike in class-wise. They're both very large sport bikes. They're very similar footprint sizes. They're very similar shapes in a lot of different ways. The only difference is that the ZX-14 is a little bit more like bug-eyed, where the Hayabusa is more of like an alien-looking thing. It's got that big, long look to it. But the ZX-14, in my opinion now, looks better than what the Hayabusa looks like. It's like I've got beer goggles on. Before I rode it, I was unbiased. I didn't have any formal opinions on it. I didn't have any sort of thoughts or ideas on it. I didn't really care for the way it looked. I didn't like anything about the bike before I got on it. And then after I rode it, it was like I'm looking through rose-tinted glasses. It's one of the better looking bikes in my eyes now. But now I have a bias against this bike already. And my bias is that I freaking love it. Oh my God, I want it so bad. I need this thing in my life. So originally what I had hoped to do, the first time I made the video, was make a cool, calm comparison to the Hayabusa. And what I got was a bunch of, well, this. And this bike, let me tell you, is unreal. Again, let me take a step back and say that I rode a very similar year Hayabusa 1300 before I rode this bike the other day. Yes, this bike is faster. It is noticeably faster. That bike had full exhaust on it, a tune. It had been the restrictor had been turned off on it, so it could do the full top speed out of the box. This is, like I said, 100%, not even an aftermarket exhaust. It still has the big bazooka tubes on the back that Kawasaki thinks looks good. It is significantly faster than a Hayabusa. I should have known that going into it, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for how much of a pleasure this bike is to ride. And this is completely stock. Now, I'm 5'8". I'm what the internet considers short, according to the way it works. All right, and goodbye. Oh my God! Unbelievable how much power this bike has. Anyway, I'm 5'8". Internet considers this short because everyone on the internet is 14 and 6'9" and can shoot basketball, but I can almost flat foot this bike. I sit on it very comfortably, as a matter of fact. I always said that the Hayabusa was built for more tall people because of the stretched out seating position. But the ZX-14 on the other hand is totally short person friendly. I'm comfortable, I'm not stretched out, dude. This bike is actually unbelievably comfortable. I feel like I'm sitting on a jet ski. And you think that the size would really play into this. Oh, I just realized why there's so much wind hitting my chin. It's because my chin curtain's gone. Probably blew off back there when I hit an undisclosed amount of speed. It's like I'm riding a jet ski. It looks and feels like a jet ski. Like up front, you look at the controls and you're like, damn, that looks like a freaking Sea-Doo, right? But the power is unbelievable. Let's see, 30. Gone. Before I got on this bike, I didn't want to like it, right? I didn't want to be like, oh, this is an awesome bike. I think it was probably just because of the way I looked. I didn't want to like the bike, but it's my new favorite bike, and I would gladly trade the ZX-10 for it. And I had to control that because it just wants to power wheelie everywhere it goes. It's like, hey, you know, it'd be great being on one wheel the entire time you ride this bike. That'd be awesome. And I'm like, well, you know, let's take it easy there, ZX-14. And it's like, no, don't do that. Let's go fast. I want to go fast. I want to go fast. But there's a lot of things that I found really interesting about this bike. Is that one, despite it being massive, despite it being really long, despite it being just like a Sea-Doo, you know, it looks and feels just like a jet ski, is how nimble and lightweight this bike feels. It looks like it would be an awful burden to bear. Like the weight and the size would just get in the way of everything. But in reality, it tips over like a hefty 1000. That's how the best way I can describe it. Like a 1000 that needs to go on a slight trimming diet. I mean, sure, it could probably lose a couple of pounds, or maybe, honestly, I'd be happy if the wheelbase was just a tad bit shorter. But this bike, on the other hand, just soars. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, and that's go fast. And that's why it's so interesting to me, is because of how nimble this bike is. You get it in a turn, and it goes a lot farther than you want it to at first. I've said it 3 times now, and I'll say it again. This bike is deceptive, because it looks like it would be overbearing, it looks like it would be heavy, it looks like it'd be hard to flat foot. But as a 5'8" guy, I can flat foot this bike, I can ride it comfortably, I'm not stretched out across the tank like the Hayabusa is. I sit in a very, not an upright position. I don't want to make you guys think that you're going to be sitting, hey, Corvettes are dumb. And I don't want to make you guys think that you're going to be sitting like you would on a sport touring bike, but you totally can. If you just kind of nut check your way up a little bit closer to the tank, it's like you're riding like a dual sport or something. You sit up so comfortable and high, and then if you want to, you just back your butt up a little bit, and now you're stretched out. It's comfortable. It's such an interesting bike, because the Hayabusa stretches you out all the time. You're bent over that thing. You're riding the tank. You're not riding the bike. I felt like a pregnant alien riding the Hayabusa. With the ZX-14, it's just such a comfortable ride. This is the 3rd time that I've ridden it, and I haven't had any fatigue from it, whereas the Busa, the first time I rode it was for about an hour, and my back was aching something pretty good. Hey girl, let me touch that butt! So that's why I have no remorse. I don't care. I get this comment every now and again. People say, Dan, you're just trying to sell bikes. You don't really care about the bikes. Every bike you ride on you think is just the best bike ever. And a little bit of that is not wrong. It's not true, but it's not necessarily wrong either. Like I said before, I have fun on every bike that I've ever ridden. I've ridden scooters and had a blast, man. Just because I have fun on 2 wheels. It is what it is. But I can categorize what bikes I like better than other bikes. And there are several reasons why I like the ZX-14 over the Hayabusa. And comfortability and style is now the top reasons why I like it more than the Hayabusa. If I just sit back a little bit on the seat, I can get my knee out and I can whip this bike over and lean it like nothing. I mean, it feels like just a regular sport bike. I don't feel like I'm lugging around a super heavy ZX-14. I don't feel like I'm riding a Sea-Doo anymore. Look at this lady, she can't stay in the lines. What, you think you're some sort of street Rossi? So yes, I could talk about the power all day long. It's a fast bike, we get it, you know? 400 more cc's than your average 1000 cc motorcycle. Well, actually 998, but whatever. I don't know the actual displacement of this, but they call it a ZX-14 because it's close to 1400 cc's. And the past two videos that didn't work out, I did nothing but compare it to a Hayabusa because that feels like the only bike that you can compare it to, because it's like the only other bike it's really in its class. Realistically, with the Hayabusa, I mean, there are two completely different bikes. Teleport. God, those brakes are really, really good sometimes. I do have some complaints about this bike, and I will get into that in a second. Normally, I do want people to come and buy bikes at WOW. I like bringing business to WOW. They've treated me so well in the year or so that I think it's been about a year now. They've treated me so well in the year that I've worked with them. I do really enjoy having them as a partner, and I generally like to send them business and show them how nice bikes are on the internet, and they ship all over the world. If you live in India, they'll ship a bike to freaking India. I know a lot of people live out of state and they'd love to come here and buy a bike, or maybe even meet me if that's one of your things that you'd want to do, but they do ship. So normally I like to bring them business and say, hey, come and get this bike. But this bike, on the other hand, is not one that I want you guys to buy. Nope, don't come and buy this bike because I want it. I've told Candy several times, she's my main contact at WOW. I was like, I'm gonna get this bike. I'm gonna trade the ZX-10 for it. It's on my list of things to do. I really want to. I would daily ride the crap out of this bike because of how comfortable and easy to ride it is. Oh my God, it just goes so unbelievably fast. And I know a lot of people are gonna get mad at me for saying that it's better than a Hayabusa, but I think more Kawasaki riders will be happy that I said this type of stuff. And remember, it's important to note that these are all opinions. And I'm a YouTuber. And that my opinions literally do not matter. But this is one of the fastest bikes I've ever been on. The only bike that I've ever been on that's faster than this that I can remember is I rode a turbo Hayabusa a couple years ago. That was just, it was impossible to ride. But I do want to stop one thing, and that is rumors about these type of bikes. I think we all know someone, and if you've been riding for years, you know the difference between this and not. But I always hear stuff like, oh man, that bike, that ZX-10, that ZX-14 so fast, man, it pulls power wheelies in 4th and 5th gear. No, it doesn't. It's fast, but it ain't that fast. There's no naturally aspirated stock motorcycle that can do that. I don't know about the H2. That bike has got legends that I've never heard before in my life. But this bike right here, completely stock, will not pull power wheelies in 4th and 5th gear. It's just not, it's impossible for bikes to do that because of the torque curve. Could it clutch up in 4th and 5th gear? I have no idea. I did not once try to clutch this bike up because of A, how powerful it is, 2, how fast it is, and C, I just didn't wanna. Now I know you guys watched the GSX-R video where I was pulling power wheelies in 3rd gear, and it could maybe power wheelie in 4th gear, but that's because of aftermarket gearing. It had at least a +3 sprocket in the rear, which it does throw off the speedometer. I did confirm later that did have aftermarket gearing. So with aftermarket gearing, oh dude, this thing would be a nightmare to ride. You wouldn't be able to keep the front wheel down. I can't imagine a ZX-14 with a plus in the rear, dude. You would be unwieldy. There'd be at no point where this bike wouldn't just pull like an absolute mess. So would I buy the ZX-14 over the Hayabusa? Yes, 1,000,000 times over, yes. I wouldn't even think about it. I would just do it. And it's not even because I have a Kawasaki anymore. I'm not a Kawasaki fanboy just because I have a Kawasaki. I also have a Honda, and I also have 2 Harleys. I mean, at this point, I think that I cover a lot of different type of motorcycles, enough to the point where I don't have a bias anymore. I've ridden so many bikes. Even the GSX-R hate is just kind of a joke, man. I'm glad that a lot of people notice it, but I think a lot of people don't know that it's a joke. See, look, this is the thing, that this bike is so big that I'm not totally comfortable with doing this, because it is so damn big. All right, how fast can we merge? Nope, not that fast, because there was a police officer. Now, I do have some complaints, and I'm going to cover those really briefly because I've done nothing but ride this motorcycle's cock. Things that I don't like. The rear tail is visually displeasing. The stock exhaust looks like 2 bazooka cannons that Kawasaki thinks look good. I don't think they look good at all. You know, a new exhaust completely changed the way that looks entirely. And the way it sounds. You know, it sounds like a cold fart. The rear seat cal is one piece. It's just got one big rear seat. It doesn't have two pieces like a lot of modern sport bikes do, or like the Busa even has. It's one big seat, which is a lot like the F4Is used to have. Like the 2004 and newer F4Is had that single seat that looked kind of goofy. Looks really dated. I don't like it. Man, are you kidding me? We had to sit at that light an extra 10 seconds. How dare you inconvenience me? Number 3, the mirrors. Not only do they not look good, they're unusable. They're too small in all the wrong places. They're hard to adjust. They're hard for me to reach, but they're easy to get knocked out of adjustment. So you adjust them, which takes like 10 minutes to get them right, and then they get unadjusted really easily. So that's another thing. I'd probably take those off, put some block offs, and get bar end mirrors if I got this bike. But there's so many things about this bike that I'm going to reiterate because I don't remember if I've put them in the video at this point, that I really enjoy about it, and that's the flickability, the energy, and the lightweightness of this bike. Yes, it weighs, I think, mid-5s, low to mid-5s, but it feels like it weighs nothing. And visually, I didn't find it that pleasing to look at for a while. I think now that I've had a couple of chances to ride it, that's changed. It's like I'm wearing beer goggles. I feel like it's an incredible bike, and I would gladly ride this bike every day. It's so comfortable. You've got such a great seating position. It's got all the power in the world you'd ever need. I think it honestly is just about the perfect bike. My dream garage right now in my head is a ZX-14 for daily commuting, a cheap GSX-R 750 geared up for wheelies, a dual sport of some sort like a YZF 450, and then my Honda Magna, and then some sort of custom Harley that I've built, maybe a Scrambler. I think that's what I want in my dream garage. I know that's a lot of bikes, but I'm halfway there. I don't even feel bad for driving fast anymore. I've done this review 3 times. I'll drive as fast as I want now. Who's gonna stop me? The police? Actually, yeah, that's exactly who would stop me. I need to stop. And you know, another thing I forgot to mention about this specific bike that I love and hate at the same time is the color. The color is matte black, which looks great on motorcycles when they're clean. This bike, not clean, would be a nightmare because, like I said, matte black looks good when it's clean, right? But any sort of mild scratch, fingerprint, dirt, anything, it makes it look awful. And that's because that's what matte black does. Not only that, it's literally the hottest color you can get. There's no reflective surface on it, so you don't reflect any of the sunlight, and it's black, which does nothing but absorb sunlight. Not only does it get dirty really quick, but it's hot to ride on because it's absorbing heat from the sun. I mean, if you leave this bike outside for longer than 5 minutes in the sun, it's gonna be like 150 degrees when you come back. Okay, maybe not 150. I don't really know convection, but it's gonna be hot. You're gonna sit on it, you're gonna say, hey, that's hot. It's just gonna be a mild inconvenience over time. So I think that's a good enough reason for you not to buy this bike so I can buy it. Because I'm really trying to swap the ZX-10 for this. Or just one like it. It doesn't have to be this exact one. The brakes are so oddly sensitive. There's no setting. There's no medium on these brakes. There's either, and which I've noticed is a Kawasaki thing. Kawasaki either has brakes completely off, no application, or full lock. Especially with the rear brake. My ZX-10 is the same way. Hey, G-Wagon. If I apply any sort of rear brake, it doesn't do anything until I get it all the way down the ground, which fully locks it in place. And that's kind of similar with the way the front brake is on this as well. The front brake is very good. It's just there's no medium. No extra medium. All right, God, I hope this worked out. This is the 3rd time I've ridden it, which, you know, it's probably just a tool for me to ride the bike a bunch, but it is what it is. Dude, I'm about that.
Ain't that thing sweet?
Man, I'll trade my ZX-10 right now.
What? It's like so smooth.
Dude, yes, I'm all about that thing, dude. It's the most comfortable sport bike I've ever ridden.